You are listening to the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast, where you discover management insights and strategies for your successful dental practice. There are also interviews with key people in the industry who have advice and services to help you and your team achieve great success. Welcome to this episode of the Julie Parker Practice Success Podcast. And today's guest is someone that I'm really excited to speak with because he speaks my language. He's all about helping dental practices succeed and giving you a firm plan on how to get there. So I want to welcome with open arms, Josh Gwinn of Optimise Practice Services, all the way from Las Vegas. How are you, Josh?
I'm great, Julie. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm really excited by this conversation because we all want to get better, don't we? And when we are talking about our own personal health or aspirations or what we do in business, we want to get better, but we most often get trapped with but how do I do it? What do I need to do over the long term to be able to reach these sort of milestones that I've got for myself? Before we launch into the stuff that you do, tell us a little bit about you, your partner, and I'll probably get the pronunciation of his surname wrong, Dr. Jack Bayramian?
Yeah, very close. Yeah, Bayramian, that's right. We'll start. I'll give you the brief version of myself. I started out, I was a young man, 7 brothers and sisters, single mom in Arkansas. And I always kind of tease folks. I went from the trailer park to the boardroom and a bunch of places on the way. So, we started out, we come from a pretty humble background. And my mom is just, she's an incredible woman, incredible worker. Her work ethic and her faith are unmatched. And having that as really a bedrock for life and as a guide really transitioned, for me into this kind of path that I feel like is a little different than most executives take to the C-suite. So I started out, at 18, joined the U.S. Navy, was in the Navy for 6 years, and then came right out and took P&L responsibility in the music business, oddly, retail music. And of course, we all know in the early 2000s what happened to retail music. Downloads started to be a thing. The whole business model fell apart. And when that happened, I ended up getting pulled and recruited to be a vision technician working for a doctor. I was the guy who puffed the air in your eyes when you got your eye exam. And I did that job for a few months, and they made me the practice manager. And then within 8 months, I had 2. And then within a year, I was the national trainer for 65 locations, and really got a sense for, through some mentors and others who would say, the biggest problem that businesses have isn't capital. It's people. There's always investment for a great business model. But finding the people who can execute on that are like gold. They're so hard to come across. And so I was just determined to make myself as an operator one of those people who, if you said I need a thing, I wanted to be the guy who could provide that. I used to say, have shovel, will travel. What hole do you need dug? I'm the guy to do that. So I worked my way through vision, and then eventually got pulled over to dental. Into a group that had over 250 locations. And I took over 65 as my first foray into dental. And then on the weekends worked as a dental assistant. So I could learn from the inside out the same way I knew optometry. And I did that for just a little while and then transitioned to a company who had over 200 locations. And then from there, I was lucky enough to be chosen as a CEO for a company called Hero Practice Services. That was dental, vision, and orthodontia. We ended up with over 70 practices, over 140 million in total revenue, and we helped about 800,000 children a year throughout the United States. So the journey was just absolutely ridiculous, and I was blessed to do all the positions in between that really gave me a very unique kind of view of how to put together programs, how people work, and really build. So that's on my side. Dr. Bayramian, he was an Armenian immigrant who, once the Iron Curtain fell, he came over to the States as a preteen and had to learn English, had to learn really how to fit in a new country, and again came from significantly less means than we might be used to today, and really just started to build a life himself. One of the things I cherish about him the most is we're brothers as well as partners in life. We've chosen this path together. We met in 2019 when his business actually sold to my business, Hero Practice Services. And we absorbed his group into our group. And he just is a person who not only does he do what he says he's going to do, but when he knows that you need him, he'll do 10 times more than you could possibly expect and never say a word about it. And he showed that to me through COVID. He actually had negotiated, and I love this, he negotiated himself a 4-hour work week when we did our transaction, which brilliant for him. And I just, still to this day is one of the great lessons I learned going through with great entrepreneurs is he wanted a 4-hour work week. And when COVID hit and we were coming back and we were struggling to find, to get people back to work, Dr. Bayramian went back to the chair 50 hours a week and never told me. I was the CEO of this company, and it took me looking at reports to find out that he was serving 30, 40 children per day, every single day, 5-6 days a week sometimes, just to help the company do what it needed. And when I asked him about it, he just kind of giggled and he said, Josh, I see you're doing everything you can to take care of us, so I have to do everything I can to take care of you. And it just blew me away. Again, it's the definition of integrity, right? What do you do when folks aren't watching? Who are you when nobody's there to cheer you on? And he's the guy of the utmost integrity. It just blew me away. So at that moment, I knew that no matter what I did post that group practice, I wanted to do it alongside Dr. Bayramian.
Oh, there's so many things. It's just magnificent. I mean, one of the things that the 4-hour work week, that maybe that came from the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week. But I remember, I think it was Tim Ferriss that I listened to years ago. And one of the things he said was that if you only had 1 hour a week to maintain your business, grow your business, do your thing, what would you spend that 1 hour doing? And it's a different mind shift, isn't it? Because we feel like, we need to fill the 38 hours. And if I didn't do that, then we'd be twiddling my thumbs. What would I be doing? But it really does help us hone in on, that pointy end. What is it that we do that's truly influential within our business? And I think that can be a difficult thing for dentists, talking about the dental practice situation, because they are in that grind, in that mindset. And there's really nothing wrong with it, because a lot of them are completely fulfilled by their work, as they should be as well, making a difference to so many people's lives. But if I'm not doing my dentistry 30 hours a week, what am I supposed to do?
Right. No, I totally agree. When we were in the middle of the transaction, and this is one of my, we tell this story, he tells it from his point of view and I from mine quite a lot. When he invited me to come and visit, I walk into his boardroom and he has his financial advisors and his accountants and his lawyer, and they're all setting operations. They're all sitting on one side of this big, long conference table, and I come alone. I've never been one for an entourage. That's not interesting to me, nor is it necessary. And Dr. Bayramian was at the right side of the table, at the head of the table, and I was, sitting on the side. And so I spent most of the time looking and talking to him. And the conversation we were having was about, tell me about your assistants. Tell me about your practice managers, because he had a group practice. He had 6 locations doing pediatric dentistry and ortho, and they were spectacularly run. I mean, the best, tightest operations, the highest profit margin. And I always go in with a little bit of a skeptical view. It's someone, an investment banker, frankly, selling me something. So I wanted to kind of dig in. And we started talking about all these stories he had of practice managers who he had helped them open up, these entrepreneurial enterprises outside of the business, and how he had invested in them, both financially and from a standpoint of teaching them financial knowledge, teaching them responsibility, giving them the opportunities to grow in the community. And I said to him, one, culturally, we're so aligned. The idea that you can help people and grow is something that sometimes gets lost. And it's how I've built a career. Again, what you didn't hear me say was I went to the finest university. I didn't go to any university. I started out as a vision technician, and 12 years later was running a monster company, right? And it was only through pouring into others. So when Dr. Bayramian was saying that to me, I was floored. I was like, this is someone so much, connectivity. And then his investment banker piped up and said, well, just so you know, as soon as the deal's done, Jack's out. He's not going to stick around at all. And I was like, oh, great. Well, you just shortened the meeting. Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Check your
I'm
legs.
done. And I got up and I shook hands and I walked out of the room. And Jack followed me out and he said, "Hey, when's your flight?" And I was like, "Tomorrow morning. I'm in Southern California. I'm going to enjoy the weather, right?" And he said, "Can we go get a drink?" And I'm like, "We probably should." And the first thing he asked was, "Well, why?" And I said, "Well, Jack, you just explained to me, and I believe it. I love it. The connectivity that you've built, this connective tissue. And here I am, big corporate guy. I'm going to come in and buy your business, and then you're going to leave, and it's all going to fall apart on my watch. I'm a lot of things. Stupid is not one of them. So thankfully, I was able to, and he was like, "I totally understand." And that's when he came with, "Well, how about this? How about I give you a 4-hour work week?" And I was like, "I can do wonders with you in 4 hours. Like, we can change the whole world.
Yeah.
You just can't go away." So that's really how that came to pass. And it was, revelatory for me. And obviously, I didn't know Tim Ferriss before that. I learned so much through Dr. Jack. He's a lifelong learner, a seeker of knowledge, both internally and externally, which I think is so critical. He works on himself as much as he does on, skill sets and everything, but really on understanding himself and being able to, master of himself before he can master other things, which I love it.
Such a terrific story. And I want to tackle one area that you mentioned before. But before I do, I want to, your life, your career, you've achieved very swift progress. And you must bring that. So there's particular characteristics that you have developed because of your environment and the way you were born and the influences around you. And you were saying that Jack has got his own set of characteristics that's been developed, coming from Armenia and learning a new language and all the troubles around that. That with your swift progress, what is that? Because one of my thoughts is going through my mind is, why doesn't everybody throw themselves into whatever project they're in, whatever job that they're in, whether they think, "Oh, this is my dream job" or not,
Sure.
and think to themselves, "I'm going to swiftly become super engaged in what I do, learn how to do it even better, put the bells and whistles on it, and see what other opportunities this then will leverage me into." And you've done that. Many people can do that, and they do it over a long period of time. Yours seemed to be very quick. What was the mindset, do you think, that you could attribute towards that?
Yeah, it comes down to this. My dad, for all of his faults, he passed away when I was young. And again, of limited means and limited mindset, unfortunately. But one thing that he did say to me, that stuck with me, and I don't know if this is the right thing to tell your kid or not, but he said, "If you want anything in this life, you're going to have to work for it, because none of us have anything to give you." And I would sit with that and see my friends who had opportunities and had things and wasted them constantly. And, I started working at a very young age. I worked on a farm very, very young. I was pulling, they call it red rice, out of a field, working in a rice field, chopping weeds out of beans, doing things that my kids scoff at. Like, who would do that? Well, your dad would do that. And again, we didn't really have, there wasn't another way of thinking. And it was always, when I look around a room, and it leads itself to the Stockdale paradox from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, which, in essence says, a leader has to be very clear about the reality of the situation and also have this undying belief that someday you are going to excel and dominate. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. But there was a sense of that for me, even at a young age, where I would look around and I was reading the newspaper at 12 years old and reading politics and thinking through these geopolitical, issues that my friends in a town of, 1,000 people in Arkansas were not interested in. Tons of people would say to me, "You're very serious." I heard that over and over, and I didn't really, is that a good thing? Is it not good? But what I did understand is when I would ingest knowledge and when I would do something and accomplish it, I always felt better. And I felt like I had control. And in my life as a youth, I didn't always have control. So when I was able to go somewhere and take control of a situation, then I started to see other people would line up behind me. And when I joined the military, I was put into a disciplinary environment where those skills accelerated at just an incredible level. My team tells me now, we talk a lot about unique ability. And, this is something it took me, 40 some years to figure out. But my team would say to me, Josh, what we really latch onto is you have this confidence that there's nothing we can't accomplish, and you're able to infuse it into everyone around you and then just move the whole thing. And the way that I explain it, I always say, there's always attacks coming from all around, be they mental, be they physical, be they whatever. I am your bulletproof umbrella. My job is to build a canopy over you and take all the shots. Your job is to get shit done, frankly, and pardon me, but that's the way. And if it's the wrong shit, that's my fault. If it's the right, you guys are amazing. Just go get it done and let me handle the rest. And that has put people in a position where they can just hammer. They don't even think about it. They're just like, okay, the next thing, boom. And what we saw, and I saw this at every stage, not knowing what was happening most of the time until I became an executive and took time to really dig in, was that folks would get so confident that I had the rest of it, that they could do the best of it and just focus on whatever that thing was in front of them and be amazing. What I found is that when you give people purpose, anyone, anywhere on the planet, when they find a purpose, even if that purpose is to sell the best pair of eyeglasses they can to every single person who walks in the door, or do the best, customer service they can for a dental patient, to relieve their anxiety, whatever it is, if you give them a specific purpose, take away their distraction, and put them in an environment where they don't have to worry about, patients being upset or any of those things. I've got all that. Then they will give you their best. If they know that you're giving them their best, they'll give it back to you. And I would say that out loud. Hey, I'm giving you everything I've got. I expect it in return. Those expectations are met most of the time. And I'll make one more point, Julie. I know I tend to ramble. This is
I'm
my
loving
habit.
it all. Please continue on.
But
it's
totally my habit. Yeah, ask them all; they will tell you. But what it boils down to for me is, sometimes folks in the C-suite and executives, they start to believe that there is a difference between people that make it, quote unquote, to the C-suite, executives, education, whatever it is, and people who don't. And when it comes to purpose, I've found there is no difference. No difference. Every single human being wants purpose. And if you give them purpose, they will execute at the highest level and give you everything they've got. If you don't, they won't. It's that simple. And that goes for executives and teammates. I've worked with executives who are brilliant with all the backgrounds you could possibly ever want. And because they couldn't align with the purpose that I was espousing, they failed miserably. They would not put in the work. I've had others who, they didn't have that background. Myself, who I can find purpose and then execute. It changes everything. And I just always caution leaders, it's on you, it's on me, it's on us as leaders to give them that purpose. It's on the dental practice owner to explain why it matters, why your job is so important, front desk teammate. I always say you're the manager of first impressions. You're the one who gets to take down that anxiety level immediately with a smile, with a kind word, with a, hey, don't even worry about it. We've got the best doctor on the planet back there. They're going to take care of everything you need. Just take a deep breath. Let me get you a bottle of water. Relax. We've got you. You're home now. That can take somebody's anxiety down a million notches. And now you've got a patient for life. And they're saying yes to your treatment plan, by the way. You already sold them. There is no more selling needed. It's done. So, little bit of a rant, but that for me has worked my entire career. Give them purpose, show them you care, work alongside and push. It changes everything.
And certainly in his book called Drive by Daniel Pink, he identified purpose as one of our core drivers, core motivators. When we're talking about intrinsic motivation, the kind of motivation that's compelling over a long, long period of time, purpose was one of the primary drivers, the other two being autonomy and mastery. And the level of communication, and you said, ask my team, they tell me I go on all the time. This is one of the things that I think are crucial, one of the steps that are crucial in terms of effective leadership that I think sometimes people think is going to take too much time and energy about is the number of times that you have that conversation and repeat what the purpose is, what the values are, what these important elements are. And we can hear something once, and then when we rehear it, we think, Yeah, I've heard that before, but we're not applying it to our lives at all. However, it's through repetition that is one of the ways that we learn very effectively. And a few things happen when you as a leader do repeat what the purpose is, what the vision is, what the values are, is one, everyone gets to rehear it, therefore properly learn it to be able to apply it into their lives every day, into their working lives every day. The second element is that you are constantly giving them greater and greater and greater clarity around the purpose, which I think is sometimes can be the slipping up point that the owner, the business owner, the visionary, the leader, they totally understand what their purpose is, but they're just not good at communicating it. But when we repeat it over and over again, we're constantly clarifying what that looks like. You are also yourself, you are more deeply understanding it because you're speaking about it all the time. You're making it a living, live thing in your world, in your existence, that then you're constantly sharing with your team.
That's right. 100%. One of the most interesting things that brings to mind for me, whenever we bring teammates on board, we start the interview process with purpose. This is what we're here for. And my job and the team always, I think they've gotten to where they prep candidates for this, but they tell, my job is to make you quit before you start, to find out that you're not aligned and to press you so hard on purpose that you either give up or there is no other choice for you but to work with us because you see how much I mean it. And it's easy for me because I'm very lucky to have been through things that have proven to me that if I won't do something that doesn't have the purpose or the intent to support and to help others to grow my business alongside my business partner and to be able to give back to my teammates. We just won't engage in projects. That's the lens we see them through, and we push them off if that doesn't work. And it's because the moment that we start to put the profit motive or any other motives ahead of that purpose, I personally start to lose focus, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it for anyone on the team. So when you come for your final interview, you interview with Josh, the CEO, and I put on my intimidating, look, and then I tell you like, hey, I want to be crystal clear. I'm looking to find out that you don't believe what we believe. And when I do, you'll be moved out of the system as aggressively as possible, as fast as possible, because I cannot have that alignment. So, and a lot of times you'll get folks who say, yeah, but I'm in. And I'm like, great, go home and think about it for 48 hours and think about the fact that you're going to have to deal with me every single day for the rest of the time. And not because I'm the boss. The real boss is our patient. And if you're not here to give our patient a better life, if you're not here to take care of the boss, then I'm gonna sniff that out, and we're gonna move you out of the system. And don't waste either of our time. And it's about a 50-50. We have people who will go to the department head and say, yeah, I don't know that I could work for that guy. He's super intense. And the department heads and the teams that I've built over time, they're like, yeah, no, 100%. And they'll thank you, Josh. Yep, dodged the bullet there. Yep, here we go. Because again, it can be, in any business, it can be intense. It can be, and you have to mean it. You have to, if not, I don't want to, and again, yes, I'm a military guy. No, I don't put everything in war terms, but I do think in terms of teams, sports, and that a lot of times. And one person who's misaligned or doesn't get it can destroy a team so quickly. And, we always say that one person is they're the cancer, and we have to be the oncologist. We have to take them out immediately so that the team A sees our action, and B, the healthy teammates that are still there that still believe can still believe. They don't also become malignant and the whole thing fails. We just can't allow it. So it has to be that ingrained. So it starts with purpose. It ends with purpose. Every meeting we talk about our purpose. I mean, we look for as many times a week as we can to bring it up, just so we can keep that alignment. And again, I've had the benefit of working in some organizations. One, the U.S. military, the purpose there is it's easy. It's so easy to get aligned or not, right? But it's easy to be aligned. When I was in pediatrics, we did a lot of work with socialized Medicaid. And frankly, I came from that world. So I would look at a dental assistant and say, hey, you realize that 12 years ago, I was a dental assistant, and you're serving my brothers and my sisters, and my children go here. And when I was a kid, we did not have a place like this to go. We went to a county clinic where they did whatever they wanted to us, and we had no recourse. We had no options. We were very rural. We had one place we could go within 100 miles. We now provide options and solutions for moms and dads who are taking care of these children. And you might be the only person who treats that kid with respect all day long. So you make sure when you look at that kid, see yourself, see me. And when you look at me, see yourself and see the opportunity you have. If you can lean into purpose, why wouldn't you be the CEO of the next big company? Why not? That sort of connectivity allow people to just blossom and explode. And if you can build that purpose and fan those flames, again, the game changes. And I see it in dentistry all the time where doctors will pour into assistants and they'll go to hygiene school and they'll pour into a hygienist who goes to dental school and they come back as an associate, and it happens all the time. It's just not consistent. And a lot of dental owners that I run into, they don't take that, kind of that opportunity themselves. They get the scarcity mindset. Oh, I have a great person. I have to entrap them into one position for the rest of their lives so that I always have a great assistant. Well, that limited mindset is going to keep you in a single practice with a group of limited mindset teammates, and you're going to grow a very limited amount. That's the bottom line.
Because the people that are hanging around also come in with a subconscious feeling that this guy doesn't want me to grow. This person,
100%.
This is where I'm going to be stifled. I'm here in this position or I'm out and I need a job.
Yeah, I think best case scenario, they stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and just move into their groove and don't do anything different, don't learn anything more. And then the whole practice is filled with a team of these people, this mindset.
That's all day long. All day long. One of the great benefits that I have now is we do some consulting, and we work with everybody from single practice owners to, we just took a group of dentists who wanted to get investment and build their own practice management company, and we were able to bring in a huge investment company and get an 8-figure deal for them, and we're now building the back end of their practice management company. So hiring their leadership team, training up their VP of Ops, their controller, their CEO, et cetera, right? And working with all these folks, you really get to see a difference in mindset and how, you mentioned this at the very beginning of our talk, how mindset really plays this incredible role in a dentist's ability. And upon meeting them now, it's so easy for me to say, oh, you're going to have no problem dominating in your market. Or, you're trying to get the biggest piece of the smallest pie, and that's not going to work for it just doesn't work. And you become embittered and you become stuck. And one of the biggest achievements that I can have with a client is a dentist, and I'm thinking of someone specifically, but there's many of them who, they've been doing it 25 years. And they're just grinding against that stone over and over. And they're miserable, and their personal life is suffering. Their health is suffering. They're really struggling. And then we have a breakthrough. And we're able to show them, what a different mindset and what clarity could achieve. And you see literally almost years and pounds and stress fall away from them as they're doing more than they've ever done and achieving more and growing right before your eyes. And it's almost like a rebirth in the mid-career. Now we're late 40s and we're exploding and we're buying practices and we're building the future and we're speaking different and we're attracting different energies and different people into our lives. One of my great, things I've heard, I could have never hired a director like that. And now it's like, now you have a line of people because you're a whole different, you now have so much to offer because you're not stuck in this limited mindset. You see now, if you can have 2 bites of this monster pie that is the dental industry, you're going to eat forever. And so is your family. Great. It's really getting to that and being able to really unlock those keys to success for people that, that really get me excited now. It's just, it's incredible. I mean, the opportunities it's wild.
It's such a unique business from my perspective, being over here in Australia, looking through your website and doing a bit of research. It's such a unique business model. So we're going to be talking more about how you can serve the dental industry. And I want to talk a little bit more around what you mentioned a little while ago, because when you were talking about being able to be in a position where there are multiple locations of health services, dental practices,
Sure.
optometrists, whatever the thing is. But let's talk about dental. Multiple locations. You've got various numbers of teams. In my position, the stuff that I read around the corporates that own a group of practices here in Australia, a couple of them work really well. Many of them don't work really well. There's a lot of complaints and they start failing
That's right.
around the edges. And one of the things does seem to be that there is a big gap between the corporates, the people that are non-dental, non-health related that are running things, and the people on the ground doing the things. To me, from what you were talking about, they've got different purposes. And so they're always going to be in opposition with each other. And so it's not going to work out. It does overwhelm me when I think to myself, imagine being put in charge of 50 dental practices or 250 dental practices. What would you do with the teams? And I'm like, oh my God, like it's just so overwhelming and difficult. And you said a fantastic line that around the connective tissue and I love that sense. And it brought back to my mind something that I heard on a podcast a number of months, could be a couple of years ago now. And it was more around patient retention or customer retention. And they were talking about Velcro. You know how with Velcro works and is very strong because it's got lots and lots of little plastic hooky things that hook that other side of the Velcro in place. And they were talking about that, have many touch points with your clients to keep them within your practice. But I love that connective tissue concept around what the level of communication, the unity behind purpose, the clarity of purpose, the unity behind the vision of the practice. Because at the end of the day, if that connective tissue isn't there, that's when everyone that's working under your organization, whether it be one practice or 250 practices, that's where things start going awry because they're all there for different reasons.
That's right. There's, it brings to mind a ton of things, and to really try to provide some value for your listeners, I'm gonna try to hit these as concisely as I can. The first thing that I do with any practice that I work with, be it 1 or 250, is I go to the practice. I've met multiple, and I know that sounds insane for me to say out loud, but I've met so many executives who have never been inside their practices. They've never been to, I'm thinking of one right now who runs almost 100 practices, and he's been to 3 of them in 3 years. And it blows my mind because he believes his purpose is to serve the investors. But when you get the real boss confused, you inevitably make the wrong decisions. So in any business that I work with, and I, again, very lucky I currently work with an electric battery company, a fashion company, a lot of dental, some vision. So I see this in every industry that I get to be a part of on multiple continents. If you do a real strong look inside and find out who, in the end, it's your consumer. Who's your consumer? That's your real boss. That's who you're trying to protect. And the real boss can fire everybody just by going somewhere else and spending their money somewhere else. That's the truth. And it's the truth in every business. We always think about, we're in the people business of healthcare right now, but I've also been in the people business of music. And if I didn't treat those people correctly, they would just go buy a CD or a DVD somewhere else. That's the way it works. If you're selling watches, you're in the people business selling watches. That is the game. And when executives and leaders start to think in terms of that next 3-year transition and that recapitalization, and I'm going to be richer or whatever is in their mindset, right? They take their eye off of the real boss. And when that happens, they don't have to say anything. The teams are so smart and they're so intuitive. It's that nature of I am this thing, therefore they are not this thing. And that is so foolhardy and it misses the mark. And I see doctors do it. I see executives do it. I have to be conscious constantly to go and ask the front desk, what would you do if you had a magic wand and you were the CEO? Because that's where gold is found. They do it every day. So we keep that connectivity and we make sure that we focus on the boss and then show up for your people. Show up for them and tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. It's very similar and I know you hear a lot in executive leadership and just leadership in general. I've heard a lot of folks compare leadership to parenting, right? And this is not meant to say that, the people I lead are children, nothing like that. But what is very much the same? There comes a point in your children's life where you have to stop selling them daydreams and BS because they smell it on you and now you're the fool. I took me some time and some dealing with my children to solve for that. But it's the same thing. If you go down and you're talking to a front desk teammate and you try to sell them something that's foolish, they know, they see right through you. So you have to be authentic. You have to tell them the truth. My commitment to my teams is you can ask any question. I might not always answer them. I might tell you that that's above your pay grade. You will get an answer. You won't always like it. A lot of times, sometimes it'll be no with a reason or yes with excitement, right? The way we think about it, my job is to say yes so you can go, grow, develop, and build your ideas in your life. Or I say no with a reason. Or I say that's above your pay grade. I can't put that out. That's information that's confidential. But you have the right and I have the responsibility to answer those questions and to give you that airtime. When I've done that in a group with 1,300 teammates on my team, I didn't get some wild number of questions. People weren't beat down my door. They were respectful and they were kind, and I answered them to the best of my ability. But more importantly, I pushed my directors and my VPs and my directors and my managers to operate in the exact same way. My belief is, and I learned this from an ex-president, I won't say which one because it starts all kinds of chaos, but I learned, just saying what it is, right? What I learned was at the leadership level, at the CEO, at the executive, at the owner level, the problems are no longer easy problems. If you're answering easy problems, you're not delegating effectively. Your managers and your teams should take all the easy stuff off your plate. And most of what you're dealing with is gray. It lives in the gray area. It's, yeah, maybe this, maybe that. I'm not sure. But if it's an easy problem, my team already solved it 2 weeks ago. I never even see the easy ones. I get the crazy stuff that's all mixed up and muddled and that's what I get. And that's what I'm paid for. That's the deal. So it really is about making sure that your team can come and ask the questions appropriately when they need to all the leadership, all the way up and down the line, and that the leaders are competent and confident enough to look them in the eye and say, I don't know the answer. Let me go find out. I'll be back. I'll be right back with you. I've said it. I say it every day. Through COVID, imagine. Guys, I have no idea what's happening right now. This is how I wrote an email every single day for the first 100 days to 1,300 teammates who were furloughed to let them know the updates, everything that I had learned. And some days I learned nothing. And I would write, Dear team, I hope you're all well. Please stay safe. I've learned nothing new today, but here's something I'm thinking about. And we would talk about vulnerability or the Stockdale paradox or leadership lessons or anything to keep them focused and thinking about, I'm a part of this thing. The world's insane right now. No one knows what's going to happen. But my leader cares enough to spend part of his day every single day to send out something so that we all feel safe and like we're part of something. That the feedback and the rewards from that were exponential beyond anything I could measure.
I love it. I love it. And that frank honesty and being able to have team members come to you with any questions and you provide them what the best answer that you can possibly provide in that moment, that's trust. But then your actions through COVID, that's constantly building that trustworthiness. And it does remind me of Jay Abraham's, he said once that, and I do love this very much, that until you can indicate to your team members that you've got their back and you understand their reality because you've just asked them what it is and you've got that kind of relationship where they're constantly telling you what their reality is, until that time, they can't be free enough to care enough about your reality and how they can consistently achieve that. Yeah, contribute to that.
100%. No, I think of it in the hierarchy of needs, right? Once they're given safety now they have the ability to create, and they can start to maneuver, and they can really start to elevate and execute. And I'll be the first to say that, some of the brilliant ideas that I would take to the board of directors, they came from dental assistants and vision techs. And I would say, hey, I'm just the guy that's lucky enough, or has the experience enough to open up the creative channels and to build this communicative flow back and forth. And I haven't been with that organization in almost 3 years. And I hear weekly from someone who says, hey, I went back and read one of those emails because the day you wrote this, I cried and I responded to you and you responded to me just like you always did. And I went back and I read it, and you know what? It still matters to me today. And I'm in a different company, and so are you. And, it's completely different. But, this level of leadership, this is what I want to be. And now I'm going to go out and affect a team. Or I was given an opportunity to be a district manager. I have 10 locations. Josh, I have 60 employees now. How do I communicate with them the way you communicated with us? And, that question is so funny to me. I giggled like, open and honest, man. Tell them the truth, whether they hate it or not, and sometimes they totally hate it. They hate it. Oh, God. I've had so many people say, no. I don't. Have a seat. We're going to have a real conversation today. And they do it to me too. Here's the beauty. To be able to connect on that level, you got to take as well as you give. This isn't do as I say, not as I do. And I will never, ever, ever forget when I learned the power of this. My HR VP came to me, and she is a dear, wonderful human, Denise Baker. If you ever see this, nothing but love for Denise. She's amazing. And she said, hey, Josh. And she looked at me and she kind of grinned and she said, I have some feedback for you. Why don't you have a seat? And I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. I'm not sitting down. I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
I've got busy things
sort of
to do.
Intro? Yeah, no. Are you kidding me? You're HR. I'm not talking. And I'm like ranting at her, and she's kind of laughing because, again, but at the same time, my anxiety spiked. I was like, she's about to tell me I'm losing my job. I don't know what's happening. And it really was a reminder that even as the CEO of this company, she's like, wow, you're freaking out. And I'm like, I totally am. What is it? Just say it. Just say it. And I'm, really steeling myself. Just say it. And then she tells me the thing and I'm like, oh, that's stupid. Okay. Thank you for that. Feedback is a gift.
That didn't kill me.
Thank you so much. Yeah. But what you said really doesn't matter. But feedback's a gift. And I thank you so much. But it was in that moment where I was like, man, I forgot what it's like because, how many times do I call people in? Hey, have a seat. I have some feedback for you. And I'm like, a lot of times.
Just because you're comfortable with the conversation doesn't mean that they are.
Oh my goodness. It literally, I almost blew a whole gasket, and she laughed and laughed. She's like, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I'm like, no. Tell everyone. They need to know we're all the same, Denise. It's all, we're all in this together. We always are. So anyway, it's just, as a leader, you have to get conscious of that. You have to be thinking about it. You have to give that feedback. And if you do, the beauty is they might just give it back to you and you might learn some really, really, really good stuff. I'll be honest. I said earlier, I put on my intimidating face, whatever. I didn't know, Julie, this is so funny to me. I'm a fairly large, person, 6'1", 230 pounds, big guy, former military, the short haircut and stern look. I didn't know I was intimidating. I had no idea. I never thought anyone would ever I don't see me as intimidating. I'm still that little boy inside, just like we all are. I'm just the guy that grew up doing the thing, right? And I sat down with a teammate one time and he came to ask me a question and I looked up at him and I was like, I just kind of looked at him like, what? And he said, oh, hey, Chief, did I do something wrong? Did I say something? And I was like, why would you ask me that? And he's like, you look so intimidating. And I was like, I have to think about that, right? I have to realize that. And I started to, and this was young in my leadership career. And I, as I would ask people for feedback constantly, they would say, well, Josh, you have a tendency to come in and just start talking to people. And those of us who know you, we're used to it. You're, machine gun, and you're just like a, bulldog on a bone, and you're on it, and you're not. But sometimes you don't even introduce yourself, and people have no idea who you are. Yeah, and you're like, you're in a suit, and you're all, and I'm like, and I sat with a dental assistant my first day at my last company. And I had spent some time with the director of operations. So she knew me and I had given her the spiel like, hey, Give me feedback, guide me. I'm going to make mistakes. These are your people. They're going to be your people long before they become my people. So I need your help. So I sit down, and this dental assistant sits down in the dental chair, and she had just gone to hygiene school, and I was so excited because I wanted to pilot this new program that just came into my head. And I started saying, hey, so I understand, and her eyes get bigger and bigger, and she starts sitting back, and she's leaning back in the dental chair. And the director puts her hand on my leg, and she says, hey, Josh, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell her who you are. Tell her what you do here. And I was like, okay, you're right. Hey, okay, sorry. Can we go outside and go for a walk? And she's like, what? And I'm like, let's just go outside and go for a walk. We'll both feel better about this, right? But it's that sense of, self and self-awareness that we all lose sometimes. We get so focused on this thing. We don't understand why people aren't responding. Many times it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. The same thing your mom told you, or at least my mom told me. Josh, it's not what you're saying. It's that look on your face when you say it to me that makes me want to put you in the corner, or whatever the thing is, right? So it's really that self-awareness that we have to work on and master, and then be able to present to people on their level. The platinum rule, right? Treat people how they want to be treated. That's it. Figure that out.
There's a great, one of the best things I ever did was, there were two things. I've done many, many great things. I've read many great books, met great people that have helped me on my way. One of the things was getting really, really comfortable and wanting to embrace and welcome feedback. The first step was my magnificent second husband, Charles Covest, motivational guru, gave me a book called The Winner's Bible by Dr. Kerry Spackman. And within that is all around recognizing what your strengths are, what to do to improve. And within that, he has got, and I hope it's still available online, where you throw into the website half a dozen email addresses of people. For a dental practice owner, for example, it could be a couple of dental nurses, the practice manager, it could be a couple of colleagues, it could be your accountant as well, or whatever. It could be a couple of patients. You throw all these emails as many as you like, into the website. It's got all of these questions around what are these person's strengths, how do they come across, all these things that are in our blind spot. We're not aware of this stuff. And then it gets delivered to me, got delivered to me in an anonymous way. I didn't know where the answers came from. And so it allows the people who are giving feedback that care about me that cushion to be able to do that. And that was and some of the answers, it blew my mind. I was like, I have never even conceived that before as an area of potential improvement. So that was fantastic. But then when I started doing Toastmasters, and you'd know Toastmasters over in America, it started over there.
Yeah, awesome.
Public speaking, coaching and things. That's all about feedback. And you turn up to your first meeting freaked out going, oh my God, now they're going to judge me. They're going to critique me. This is the worst thing. Why did I do this? But then after a couple of times when you get those one or two helpful pieces of feedback, you then apply it to your next speech delivery. And then people say, you did beautifully. You had no ums or ahs that time. You're like, oh man. And all of a sudden the sense of progress that you get is so far more greater than the anxiety you feel about the feedback. You quickly start to embrace the feedback. It's one of the best things that we can ever do. And, I do encourage dental teams, any team, to embrace that value of growth, because the things you need to do in order to grow make you open up. Identify areas that you weren't of before. All of a sudden you make mistakes, you don't care because mistakes are how we learn. You're used to feelings of incompetency because that's on the pathway to getting better. And I'm loving feedback because that's where I can start to identify things that I can't actually see myself, or I do see, but I didn't realize it had such a negative impact on the people around me. It's such a fantastic space.
Agreed.
So tell us, Optimise Practice Services, Josh, what is it that you do? Who is your marker? Who can you help out there?
Sure. So I'll give you as you're getting to know, very long-winded answer to a very short question. And only because our goal, Dr. Bayramian and I, when we left the big company and we said, hey, we're going to go and do this entrepreneurial thing. He is an incredible entrepreneur with this quick start mentality. So he loves to do the next thing. He's already doing the next thing when he tells me about the thing we're doing tomorrow. He's already doing like 3 more things. So what we did is we set up, our company in a way that we could really use our skill set to service and have influence on the most of the market. And so here's what I mean. We have Optimise Practice Services is a dental practice management company that partners with dentists. We don't do leveraged buyouts. We don't do 100% buyouts. We partner with dental owners. And then we go in and we do a strategic vision day. And really it's about what is the doctor's vision? Doctor, what do you want? And, currently I'm working with a gentleman who wants to partner with us. He wants to buy 5 practices in the next 6 years. Amazing. But he's not capitalized and he doesn't have the operational infrastructure. Well, I am. Great. So let's do that. So similar to really that, there's others who say, look, I'm at the end of my career. I want to do 3 to 5 years and I want to transact and bring in an associate and then go into teaching. Amazing. We have, great flex in institutions. We can help with the teaching piece. We can help with a lot of that. So really on the practice management side, that's really how we help. We keep these groups and use them as mastermind kind of incubators for the doctors so that best practices are shared, all the things that you hear about dental practice management, but we hope the good stuff, right? There are some good. We also have Optimized Practice Consulting. And we do everything from single practice consulting, where we build that same strategic plan. We put a group into a 90-day world, meaning every 90 days we redo their strategic planning and we guide them through execution. Everything we do in any of our companies is based on project management. So we have project management software and then also project managers who guide and deliver on this stuff to really help. And we use our institutional knowledge of the dental industry to get, best in brand, either, if you need services, we have, contracts with service companies to help. If it's, procurement, whatever it is, we have the ability to kind of flex and maneuver into that. On the consulting side, for single practices, we also have clients who are small groups, call it 5 to 10 locations, who are trying to organize their back office functionality and really build a group mindset. And again, that can go anywhere. We have a client right now who has 10 locations looking to be 20 and wants to be 20 in 3 years and doesn't know what they want to do then. But we know for 3 years, we have to organizationally build out the support function and structure for that type of growth. We lead their M&A activities and we also mergers and acquisitions, and we also help with their de novo new practice build out. So we're helping as a growth advisor. We had a group of 30 locations who wanted to come together and build a platform. I told you about them. We did a transaction to private equity. We do have a brokerage that's tied to us, so we can take you all the way through a transaction if need be. Literally from one practice, build you up to 10, and if you want to sell, we can serve in that function. And then finally, that's the consulting side. And then finally, we have what's called Optimized Capital. And Optimized Capital is it's mostly focused on technology incubation in the space. So Dr. Bayramian and myself have the neat thing is we have very different contact circles. He's very well known, of course, in the Southern California community and the tech community. And I'm very well known in what I call DSO land. I was on the board of directors for the Association of Dental Support Organizations and really worked in that world for a long time. So we get these disparate views from these small tech companies. And so we use Optimized Capital to invest in groups, in practices, and then in technology to bring to market the things that we believe in. And I'll give you, for instance, we have a very interesting virtual reality company that we're investing and leading into market right now that is doing virtual reality in lieu of pain management in hospital settings. The science shows that if your brain's distracted, you need way less, of the medicine. And we're bringing that to a dental setting, especially focused on children and the ability to then use it as a marketing tool to connect through apps with the parents, with the kids, to keep them engaged. You talked about the stickiness, the Velcro. That's really the idea here. We're very excited. It's a very, very neat company right in its seed round. So things like that are really how we're playing in the space. But our goal, again, was just to provide flex. And what I would say to anyone who hears and is interested, optimizeps.com. If you reach out, you'll probably get me. We're a small crew. We've, less than 10 people are managing all this right now. And, we just kind of lean in and decide who we want to work with. We only want to work with people that are, good people that are focused, that have an entrepreneurial mindset, who want to grow and develop. But you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't that person. So OptimizePS.com. Feel free to reach out, and that's really how we can help support. It's just even ask questions. I'm happy to just jump on a call and answer questions for people. Happy to do whatever.
That's fantastic, because one of the things I've just noted down here is, and you can answer this question for me, do you think there are dental practice owners out there that are thinking big enough? Do you think the industry itself has kind of brought in the boundaries and, I wouldn't be able to do that. That seems crazy, because there'd be a bunch of barriers around that. And I can't go that big. I would lose control, or the people would overrun me, or whatever the thing is. And Marie Forleo has a fantastic saying that everything is figure outable. Would you encourage dental practice owners out there at the moment, really, don't just think of you sitting in that operative chair doing the dentistry. Start blowing your mind with what is possible, because you're saying that all these other steps are figure outable, all the barriers.
I mean, Julie, again, I'm a kid who came from the trailer park and the farm to the C-suite, and now have multiple companies. It is all figure outable. I mean, and not only is it figure outable, again, because of what all comes my way, I see so many different things. And I've met, literally thousands of dentists, but also dentists with the limited mindset who believe, I'm lucky to be able to work for this big organization who pays and all the things. And don't get me wrong, it can provide you an incredible lifestyle to be an associate, all those things. And I'm for it. I have associates. It's a great thing if that's the path and you have other interests and purposes in your life. Awesome. I love it. I think that's great. But if you're a dentist who has an entrepreneurial bent or an investor mentality, or even want to explore that, I say go, ready, go, ready, go. Dr. Jack's book is titled Extraction. And the purpose of Dr. Bayramian, Dr. Jack Bayramian, if you hear me interchangeably, but Jack's book it's extraction. It's literally taking yourself from the dental chair to the investor seat. That's what the book is about. It's available on Amazon or anywhere you buy books. It's not like a commercial, but it's true. Get you a copy of that book and read the book. You will see he did it. He did it a couple times, and now he's forcing our clients and the people around us to have that mentality, to really decide, I want more and I'm capable. I'm completely capable. I just have to build that future and put those systems and processes in place to allow me to move forward. And my exact case, the gentleman we're looking to partner with right now, he came to me and he said, I have one practice and I want 5 in the next 5 years, and I have no idea. And I said, well, the first step would be, do you know any associates? He's like, absolutely. I have a guy right now who wants 2 days a week. Okay. And what could you do with an extra 2 days a week? Oh, well, then I would go to the second. I'm like, you already have the plan. Let's go document the plan. Let's get some project management software. Let's go get some financing and funding, and let's go build this future. And he looked at me like, you make it sound like it's so easy. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. To me, it's like working out. If you work out every day for the next 6 months and you eat right, in 6 months, you're going to look better and feel better. If you don't, you're not. But 6 months is still coming in 6 months, no matter what you do. The time is happening. So you can either use that time to move your dreams forward, or you can sit and lament the fact that you never got started. Your choice, but here's how we think about it. And boom, the light bulb goes off and he's like, well, I want 5. Can we build that plan? We're doing it right now. So that's really how I want folks to think. I want you to think the time's coming no matter what. No matter what. And you're never getting it back. That is the one thing we can't have. We all know it, but hear me say it out loud for the millionth time you've heard it. What are you going to do between today and the future to have the future that you want? Go and extract yourself from the chair to become the investor or whatever it was you were meant to be or that you're passionate about. If your purpose is no longer chairside, let's find that purpose and put you in position to execute.
Yeah, I love it. Marshall Goldsmith, I know we've got to finish up. We're running a few minutes over. Marshall Goldsmith, magnificent super coach of leaders. He's got a new book out, and I've actually this is my own planner that I sell. I've designed and sold. And beautiful. I just got to remind myself of the book that he wrote. And it is about writing. Part of what he encourages you to do is write 2 letters. And the first letter is to thank yourself for all the things you have done in the past that's allowed you to achieve your level of success that you're enjoying right now. And the
Love it.
second letter is to thank your future self. The book is called An Earned Life by Marshall Goldsmith.
Okay.
The second
Love
letter
it.
is to your future self. 10 years down the track, 5 years down the track, thanking yourself for all the potential things you're doing that's going to help you achieve your dreams in 5, 10 years. And that's
Love
what
it.
you're talking about. Like there's going to be a series of things that you haven't done before. But once you do them, you'll be able to reflect back and go, thanks for getting those things done, because now look at where I am right now.
Julie, it blows my mind because I wasn't intentional enough years ago to do this on purpose. But I want to tell you real quick. I want to finish with this. The first person I met in dentistry who took a moment to ask questions and try to figure me out, which I appreciate. Her name is Marlene. She's a hygienist. And shout out to all the hygienists in the world. Love you. Couldn't do it without you, literally and figuratively, right? But Marlene sets me down and she says, "So what do you know about hygiene? What do you know about dentistry? You're an optometry guy, right?" And I'm like, "Well, as much as anything, yes." And she's like, "Okay, what do you know about dentistry?" And I said, "Well, there's amalgams and there's compost it." And she's like, "Oh God, stop talking, stop. You did you like literally? Did you just say a compost it in someone's mouth?" She's like, don't ever say that out loud again. So my first tip for you, and mind you,
You're
she
embarrassing
reported
yourself.
to me. She reported directly to me. So, I mean, talk about truth and feedback. She was like, never say that again. So I've told the story like a million times because it makes me laugh and, it's just how I live. But I'm like, okay, so nothing is the answer. I know nothing. And then she looked at me and, quizzical. And she's like, "So what's the point?" And this was in Detroit, Michigan. I had moved 4 times in the previous 6 years, getting the next job. And she said, "What's the point?" And off the, out of the mouth of babes, right? Off the top of my head, I said, "Well, someday I'm going to move to Denver, Colorado, and I'm going to play in my rock band with my friends from the Navy." That's what I said out loud. And she was like, "Okay, whatever." Never mentioned it again. A year later, I moved to Camas, Washington, Portland, Oregon area, and I'm working there. She comes too. She's working with me there. We're, everything's good. 2 years after that, I get an offer to move to Denver, Colorado to be the CEO of a dental group in Colorado. And I moved to Denver and I play in my rock band. And I play in that band to this day. And for I don't know, maybe a year after I was here, her and I were on the phone and we haven't worked together since, which I deeply miss her. She's amazing. But I said, "Hey, how's it going?" And she's like, she's like, "Josh, I'll never forget. You told me you were going to do that and then you did it." And I was like, "Oh God, I did say that."
Oh, God.
And when I told Jack the story and he's like, "You set an intention. You're amazing." And I'm like, "Jack, I don't think I did though. I think I just said it out." He's like, No. The universe heard you, brother. That's how it works. And once it's out there and you push and you do everything you can to achieve those targets and goals, you may not have been thinking about it every day, but you went and made it happen. And it blew my mind. And circuits, I did do that. And I just set that intention. So from that point on, the power of intention became so clarified in my mind. Like, I will do these things. I said, I will record at Jack White's studio. Jack White is one of my favorite artists. I recorded at Jack's studio a year and a half ago. It was like, it's a highlight of my musical life, right? But to be able to, I'm going to go do that now. And I'll find a way. It's going to happen. And I heard this quote. I don't know who said it, but it sticks with me all the time. Visionaries speak about the future as if it's already happened.
Nice.
And I try to spend my time in that mindset. I've already done that. I've already built Optimise into the greatest consulting company and greatest practice management company in America. We no longer have competition because we've lived through our values and we've provided so much actual value to so many people and clients that why would you work with anyone else? It's already happened. So that mentality, again, it just changes everything. So that's it. Sorry.
Oh, it's just such a magnificent thing. I've enjoyed this conversation so much, and you've contributed so much as well value for everyone out there listening. I do encourage every dental practice owner out there, do have a think about where you want to be in a few years' time. And if you have any questions at all about whether it's actually possible, or even to help formulate that vision, I don't even know what's possible. I need to have some guidance, have someone ask me the right question so I can actually realize what my vision is as well and unveil that to myself. So do connect with Josh and Optimise Practice services.
Yeah, we've
And
got a bunch of them, but that's right.
yeah. Because really start blowing your own mind and recognize that the dreams that you had when you first left university or after 5 years or 10 years of practice ownership, they can be wildly different moving into the future and really help you create a completely different life for yourself and foundation stability for your family moving forward as well.
That's right. Thank you so much, Julie. It's been an absolute privilege. I'm blown away by your time and attentiveness. This is incredible. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Josh. I love it. Have a beautiful day, and everyone out there, have a fantastic day. Contact Josh the minute you can and start realizing your dreams. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, then you should come along and join the club. The club is a whole library of lunch and learns with new lunch and learns being produced all the time that help your dental team gain greater success in your systems, in your team behaviours, in your patient management, in your patient engagement, in their treatment plans. They are usually around half an hour in length, and so team members can sit down, be paid for their lunch break, eat lunch while they're being inspired and delivered all of these insights and strategies that can be implemented so you all achieve greater levels of success. Also, Amina and I, my buddy from Dental Management Expertise, have a company, Dental Business Mastery, together. And our flagship online 1-year course for dental practice managers and dental practice owners to learn how to very successfully manage your dental practice is available. Head over to dentalbusinessmastery.com.au to find out more information and has information about any other courses that we've got available. Also, make sure you do jump onto my website, julieparkerpracticesuccess.com.au, and you will see a whole load of free information. There are articles, the blog, downloads, templates, a whole load of things that are designed to help you overcome any specific challenge that you've got going on in your practice at the moment. If you have any suggestions of topics or guests that I can have on the podcast, please let me know. Thanks for listening.